पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तन्न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
We now start with the chapter 2, which is also called the Sankhya Yoga. This is the essence of the introduction for this chapter 2, which is called Sankhya Yoga. This chapter is the soul of the Bhagavad Gita, while all those that follow form the body. The great blessings of this glorious chapter are hope and fulfillment. Hope for the individual and the fulfillment for one and all. It gives a direct way to peaceful, energetic and successful life in the world, together with spiritual comfort and freedom from bondage. It expounds Brahma Vidya in its completeness. It expounds the wisdom of the Absolute, both in its theoretical and practical aspects. This chapter presents the central idea of the entire theme of Bhagavad Gita, and it also has seed ideas which are developed in all the following chapters. At the same time, this chapter is self-contained. It is in itself powerful enough to uplift any mind, however low its level. It presents a complete philosophy of life, starting from the state of a seeker and ending in the state of fulfillment and freedom. The thought of the first chapter continues to flow into the early part of this one. The potential force underlying Arjuna's state of suspension finds an outlet in the ocean of the eternal wisdom of Lord Krishna. Arjuna's condition, which inspired Lord Krishna to reveal the secret wisdom of integrated life, is portrayed at the beginning of the chapter, and the key to this wisdom is revealed in the 45th verse. The vision of the teaching in all the 72 verses in this chapter is as follows. The seeker of truth is held in a state of suspension, for he sees no solution to the basic problems of life. From the point of view of the divine, problems do not exist. Impurity overshadows the dignity that naturally belongs to life. This statement that problems do not really exist, and this statement about the nature of life appears meaningless to one who clearly knows that problems do exist at the basis of individual and social life. As a practical man, he does not wish to turn a blind eye to them. To him, the seeker, the teaching comes giving insight into life. There are two aspects of life: the changing body and the unchanging self. Again, the changing body and the unchanging self, whose real nature is absolute being. Until being is realized, life is without a stable foundation and remains based solely on the fundamental problem of existence. So again, it remains based solely on the fundamental problems of existence, even though it may be in accord with Almighty Nature and the force of evolution. Knowledge of the self and being brings equanimity of mind. Equanimity is made permanent by gaining absolute consciousness. The mind gains absolute consciousness naturally and easily. But the man who is immersed in sensory enjoyment misses it. Here, the technique is given, the technique that lies in allowing the mind to arrive naturally at absolute consciousness, and then, having become acquainted with the fullness of life, to engage in action. This chapter further gives the advantages along with the technique, which are improved efficiency and greater success in all fields of life, relief from problems, and complete liberation from bondage. Finally, in this chapter, a description of life established in equanimity and of precautions to safeguard that blessed state of freedom in divine consciousness are explained. This is the essence of the introduction and the vision for this second chapter, and I will add a few words, and then in the next recording we will start the verses. Bhagavad Gita is referred to as Upanishad, and the essence of all Vedic scriptures is called Upanishad. The meaning of the Upanishad is sitting near the feet of the Guru, sitting near the knowledge. So when one sits with the Master or the Guru, the Upanishad, then the knowledge happens. Now Lord Krishna will be revealing this whole Brahma Vidya in these next 17 chapters, starting from the second chapter onwards. Arjuna is the seeker, and he is sitting at the feet of Lord Krishna, the Upanishad, and just receiving and absorbing this knowledge just by listening to him. So let us look into the importance of listening here. In Vedanta, the first principle is Ravana, which is also known as integrated listening. And the second principle is Manana, which also means contemplation or analyzing the truth. Or we can say, in simple words, digesting and assimilating this truth. The third principle is Nididhyasana, which means living this truth, living or the existence with this truth, and also radiating the truth. Any transmission of knowledge, which is in fact the experiential knowledge, happens between a master and disciple only when the disciple gives his or her listening. The Vedic rishis have this chant, Srunvantu Visve Amritasya Putraha, O sons of immortality, please listen to me. One needs a settled mind and one needs silence in the mind to be able to truly listen and absorb this knowledge. This is where the art of transcendence becomes invaluable. Transcending and experiencing the state of samadhi gives us such a profound and deep silence, and it provides the perfect environment to be able to listen and comprehend and gain this knowledge to the fullest extent. One needs this undisturbed field or space to be able to listen fully and to be able to cognize fully this truth. Lord Krishna, he becomes the first example. He shows how one should listen with integration. In the first chapter, he listens fully and completely, and even in the second chapter, called the Sankhya Yoga, he allows Arjuna to speak, and Lord Krishna is fully listening. He wants Arjuna to learn the ability to give integrated listening to himself and to have the clarity of the mind. He allows Arjuna to speak so that he can listen to himself. He is listening to himself in addition to Lord Krishna listening to him. By listening to himself, Lord Krishna wants him to find a solution to his own problem. Again, right listening is Sravana. And the right listening means allowing the words to enter your Atma or the inner space automatically and letting them cognize without you constantly interfering with your interruptions, doubts, etc. So especially when one is listening to this Bhagavad Gita after doing your meditation and you have arrived at this state called restful alertness, then the mind is so settled that automatically the listening happens. In general, we all speak continuously to each other, but a conversation does not really happen. When the other person speaks, we do not listen. We are busy preparing our own reply. Only when the mind is settled and in that restful alertness, one is capable of listening with integrity to himself and to others. Krishna is an extraordinary listener. He is an extraordinary listener besides being an extraordinary master. So there are no extraordinary speakers, there are only extraordinary listeners. Listening is directly connected to your ability to handle reality as it is without creating your own unconscious ideas and conclusions. When one starts listening to oneself, then one naturally becomes more aware of the words one gives to oneself and others. So if one can listen to his own thoughts and words, then one is capable of listening to others with integrity. And this is what needs to be cultivated. But it will come spontaneously when one experiences the silent field of the Atma. When one experiences the subtler aspects of the relative fields and also the absolute consciousness, which is the being. This is when the pure listening comes. This is when the pure listening is established. When the mind is still and just listening, then this allows the grace of the Lord to move in. Here at the feet of the Lord, then the communication is on this silent level. Bhagavan is conveying the words, and you are also communicating in that silence. In the presence of the Master, the answers will appear even before your questions are asked. You can receive from the Master at 3 levels. You can converse and convey through words, and the Master will listen. Then, in the next level, you can communicate from the heart in silence, and still the Master is listening. Finally, you can commune in silence through Upanishad, and the Master will grasp this even more powerfully. And that means seated at the feet of the Master or having the complete surrender to the Master, then the flow of the knowledge is unobstructed. So here Krishna allows Arjuna to verbalize, and once Arjuna cognizes and expresses his doubts and concerns, then he can relapse into silence and commune with the Master in that space of Upanishad. In my own experience, I have realized that after the dhyana samadhis, the dhyana, the meditation, leads to the samadhi in the transcendence. So after the dhyana samadhi, when I was listening to the Bhagavad Gita or even reading the Bhagavad Gita, then I understood that the manana was just spontaneous. There was no need for me to contemplate or analyze it endlessly. The meanings were revealed. The essence of what was heard was clear, and it is then naturally and spontaneously transferred or becomes the existence. So it is the infusion of this consciousness, that absolute consciousness of the being, into the relative mind, that changes the whole understanding and the cognition. It is like the infusion of the light into the darkness, into that absolute darkness, more and more light coming, and then it is more and more light and awake. In the same way, when there is muddy water, then infusion of the pure water, like Ganga water, when it is going, then more and more water becomes clear until finally everything becomes Ganga water or pure water. And this is what happens when one listens to the Gita and grasps this knowledge after the dhyana samadhis. The obstacles and the distractions and the doubts all are removed just by the infusion of this pure consciousness into the mind. The grace of this knowledge just flows spontaneously. In the beginning, it might feel that it's taking little time, but once you start practicing this gaining and experiencing the higher states of consciousness, and then keep gaining this knowledge simultaneously, then everything opens up and evolves very quickly. So I would end with saying that please try to meditate before listening to this, and then again maybe you can meditate after you listen to it, or at least be in silence for a little while until you feel settled. So while listening, listen with the eyes closed. It is indeed a great fortune to be able to transcend. So one should learn the art of transcendence, the technique of transcendence, and attain the states of samadhi, and see for yourself, because this is all experiential knowledge. It is all experiential knowledge. It is not just book knowledge. It is not just intellectual knowledge. It is all experiential knowledge. And only then you get to the state of being Jivan Mukta, or being in liberation, or being in freedom while still in the body. Jai Gurudev. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu.
अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गीतामाहात्म्यम्। गीताशास्त्रमिदं पुण्यं यः पठेत् प्रयतः पुमान् विष्णोः पदमवाप्नोति भयशोकादिवर्जितः। गीताध्ययनशीलस्य प्राणायामपरस्य च नैव सन्ति हि पापानि पूर्वजन्मकृतानि च। मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीताम्भसि स्नानं संसारमलनाशनं। गीता सुगीता कर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रविस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्माद्विनिसृता। भारतामृतसर्वस्वं विष्णोर्वक्त्राद् विनिसृतं। गीता गङ्गोदकं पीत्वा पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः। पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्रगीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव। एको मन्त्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा।
Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Here is the meaning of the Guru Sloka here. I offer my salutations to my Guru, who removes the darkness of ignorance of the unenlightened by applying the ointment of this Adhyatmic knowledge and opens the eyes to this light of enlightenment. Now, the meaning of the Gita Mahatmyam slokas. The first one. One who recites with devotion this Bhagavad Gita scripture, which is the bestower of all knowledge, wisdom and virtue, will attain the holy abode of Bhagavan Vishnu, which is always free from the mundane qualities based on fear and lamentation. Next, if one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely, then by the grace of Bhagavan, the karmas of the past misdeeds will not act upon him. Next, one may clean and purify himself daily by taking a bath in water. But if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganga called Bhagavad Gita, for him the impurities and the afflictions of material life is altogether vanquished. Next, because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Paramatma, the transcendental eternal self, one need not read any other Vedic literature. One needs to only read or hear this Bhagavad Gita with great attention. In this present age, people are so busy, involved in so many mundane activities, that they do not have the time to read all of the Vedic literature. But all this extensive reading is not necessary. Just this one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literature and it is directly spoken by Paramatma Krishna. Next, by drinking this Ganga water of this Bhagavad Gita, the quintessence of the Mahabharata emanating from the mouth of Bhagavan Krishna, the cycle of birth and death comes to an end, which means one does not have to take birth again. Next, all the Upanishads are like a cow, and the milker of this cow, called the Upanishads, is Lord Sri Krishna. Arjuna is the calf drinking this beautiful nectar, and the fortunate devotee is also the drinker and enjoyer of this milk or the nectar, which is the essence of the Upanishads. Next, if there need be only one holy scripture, the divine Gita sung by Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and if there be only one worshipable God, let it be Paramatma Krishna, the transcendental eternal self. And if there is only one mantra, let it be the holy names of Bhagavan. And if there is only one duty, let it be the devotional service to Bhagavan Krishna and his teaching. Jai Gurudev.